Good evening. It is September 12th, 2023. Welcome to the San Marino Unified School District Board of Education meeting. Here is your board president, Shelley Wright.
Thank you, Dr. Choi. There is nothing to report out of closed session. All right, at this time, the regular open session begins at 7:01. Calling it to order. Let's do a roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb?
Here.
Mrs. Gill?
Here.
Mrs. Chan?
Here.
Mr. Chang?
Here.
Mrs. Ryan? Here. And then student board member?
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to call on Dr. Richter. Would you please introduce our students who will lead us in the flag salute?
Thank you, President Ryan. It is my pleasure tonight to introduce our two fifth grade pioneers from Carver Elementary, Paige and Claire Yee, to lead the Board of Education in the flag salute and share a little bit about what they love about Carver. So Paige and Claire.
We need like a little, we need a little stool.
Yeah.
Can they stand in front and use Jennifer's microphone maybe?
Perfect. So we can see beautiful faces.
Yeah. That's
Can I start? Good evening, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, distinguished board members, and all those in attendance. First of all, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to join us this wonderful evening. Our names are Paige and Claire Yee, and we are fifth graders at Carver Elementary. We are also twins, if you couldn't tell. We have seen Carver grow over these 6 years, and this year, we have seen our school grow immensely with new students. Carver is a very safe and fun place. We hope that Carver will stay like this for a long time. It means a lot to us to be here to speak to you about our special school. This year, we are eager to participate in the new programs and the long-standing traditions of our school. We already had a great kickoff to the school year. The bike rodeo took place recently for Carver 3rd to 5th graders, and we were so grateful to partner with the San Marino Police Department as students participated in a bicycle obstacle course and learned more about bike safety. We also kicked off our amazing Walk to School program. To win the award, your class needs to have the most walkers walking to school each Friday. All classes always strive for 100% participation, even the teachers. The award is the amazing golden shoe. We get to have bragging rights for the week and keep it in our classrooms to enjoy until the next class wins. Walking to school is a great way to have fun, stay healthy, and help our planet Earth. This year, we are looking forward to the Carver Carnival and the Lunar New Year celebration. These two events are fun and enjoyable, which is only made possible with our wonderful volunteers. Today, as we welcome you to the award-winning San Marino Unified School District Board meeting, we would like to pay respect to our country and our flag. Please join us as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand quietly and respectfully. Face the flag. Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
You may be seated.
Claire and Katie.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening, the board meeting, to talk about your wonderful school, Carver Elementary. And I have some certificates of recognition for both of you. And Paige, so if you'd like to come up here, I'm just gonna take a picture real quick. Thank you so much. You ladies did a fantastic job. And we are so grateful for you coming out this evening and providing us with that presentation and leading us in the pledge of allegiance. So thank you so much.
Everybody look ready? Count three. 1, 2, 3.
Would you bring the parents up? Yeah, no.
Very.
I know.
Better than me.
Yeah.
Here. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Delatorre, if I could, I would like to make an announcement.
Yes.
This past week, I was contacted by the family of Nam Jack. Nam Jack was a former board member and a trusted friend. Her family notified me that she had passed. I would like to respectfully ask all of you to stand and join with me in a moment of silence. She passed away on Thursday. Thank you. All right, item 5B, approval of the agenda. May I please have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move to, I move to approve the agenda.
I second. Thank you, Mrs. John. Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. So with that, a roll call vote, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Chong,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. Student Board Member Chow.
Aye.
Motion has passed for the approval of the agenda. Approval of the minutes dated August 22nd, 2023, Board of Education meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the August 8th meeting minutes?
I would like to approve for the minutes, August 22, 23.
A second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Roll call, Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Chan,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, myself, I, student board member.
Aye.
Thank you. Next, we have the San Marino Unified School District Spotlight. I would like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Delatorre for our San Marino Unified School District Spotlight.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, student member Choi. I would like to turn it over to Dr. Wolf to recognize some of our most outstanding San Marino High School students.
Thank you, President Ryan, Superintendent Delatorre, members of the board. It's going to be hard to follow those twins. I sincerely hope 5 years from now, I see them in our speech and debate team. Wow, amazing kids here. I am thrilled tonight to be able to recognize some of San Marino High School's amazing students. These students are being recognized for winning the College Board's National Hispanic Recognition Award. And in order to win this award, you have to have a 3.5 GPA or higher. And I'm going to read their GPAs when I announce them, and you'll see they're all quite a bit higher. But you have to have a 3.5 or higher and receive an outstanding score on either the PSAT or one of the advanced placement exams. Unfortunately, they don't tell us which one it is, or we would be really specific about it. But it's not an easy award to get. And we're really proud of these young ladies and gentlemen. So I will start with our first student is a junior. She has a cumulative GPA of 4.2, and that is Liliana Isidro. And our next student is a senior with a 4.49 GPA, Madeline Aguilar. And also a senior with a 4.07 GPA, Sophia Estrada. And I don't believe our fourth student was able to attend tonight, but he is Carlo Repetto, and a junior with a 4.36 GPA.
Rob. So I'd just like to say that we are so proud of these students and their amazing accomplishments. I'm sure we're going to see great things that you will do when you go off to your respective colleges. We do have some certificates of recognition that we're going to be presenting to you this evening, and I will give the certificate for the young man who was unable to make it this evening to the principal to give to him tomorrow. So let's go ahead and take a photograph with these amazing students.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, love to.
Oh, yes. Madeline Aguilar. And Sophia. So congratulations. 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 We are so proud of you. Can we get the principal and assistant principal? Yes. Get the board in here.
Here, center, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
And let's take 2 more. 1. Thank you so much.
Oh, jeez. Bad. Sat down prematurely. I'll get my life back together here. My pen go. Thank you. Yep, okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right, next public comment. The Board of Education has adopted Board Policy 9323B to ensure the public's right to be heard in any matters pertaining to the San Marino pertaining to the San Marino Unified School District. Persons who wish to provide public comment will have three options to submit public comments. First, you may submit through an online form. As of this afternoon, we did not have any submissions. Request to speak during the meeting via Zoom. Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Ryan. We'll go ahead and pause for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding matters that are not on the agenda or items that are in the consent or information sections, including the action items on the agenda. If you'd like to make a request, please press the raise hand icon or dial *9. And 30 seconds remain. Again, if you'd like to make a request to speak, go ahead and press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, President Ryan, we have no requests.
Thank you. At this time, is there a request to speak during the meeting in person via the public comment card?
There are no cards at this time.
All right, thank you.
I found this on the web.
Sorry. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Michael Lin to conduct a public hearing.
Good evening, Board President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Superintendent Dr. De La Torre, executive team, and student member Megan Choa. Item 9 is to hold a public hearing to provide the public an opportunity to speak on the matter of school facility developer fees and resolution. The fees justification report is posted on the district website under business services, as well as on the informational agenda item number 12B below. President Ryan, we need to call a roll call vote to initiate this public hearing and have Dr. Choi gather any public comments from the remote audience.
All right, so I'm doing a roll call vote with the board members. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So under the matter of the public hearing, the school facility fee justification report and resolution, I'd like to do roll call.
We need a motion and then a
Oh,
second. Then
may I
roll call,
have a
sorry.
motion and a second before I do roll call?
Yes.
Thank you.
What do you need the motion to be specifically? To open the.
So
to
number
public
9,
hearing?
it's
And
the
public
Board of
hearing?
Education will conduct a public hearing to consider approving and adopting the school facility fee justification report and resolution.
Move to conduct a public hearing for the Board of Education to conduct a public hearing to consider approving and adopting the school facility fee justification report and resolution.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. And with that, I would like to do roll call. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Here.
Mrs. Chan,
Aye.
Oh,
Miss-
aye, sorry.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and student board member.
Aye.
Thank you, Megan. All right, next.
So we need 60 seconds and then we have to formally close the
Okay,
public hearing.
thank you. Dr. Choi?
Thank you, President Ryan. We are pausing now for 1 minute to take requests to speak regarding the school facility fee justification report and resolution. So if you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Thirty seconds remain. If you'd like to make a request to speak, please press the raise hand icon, dial *9, or submit a public comment card. Okay, we have no requests. The public hearing is now closed.
And President Ryan, we need a roll call vote to conclude this public hearing.
All right, so do I need a motion?
Yes.
All right, may I have a motion to conclude the public hearing?
Move to conclude the public hearing.
Thank you, Mrs. John.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And so with that, I'd like to do roll call. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Chan,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and Student Board Member Megan Chua.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Next, number 9 is the consent section. Do I have a motion to approve the consent section 9A through 9E?
I move to approve the consent section A through E.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. And with no further discussion, let's do roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb,
Aye.
Mrs. Gill,
Aye.
Mrs. Chan,
Aye.
Mr. Chang,
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan, I, and Student Board Member.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion has passed. Consent section 9A through 9E. Under number 10 is communication section, the communication from the Board of Education. We ask that each board member take no more than 2 to 3 minutes to share their communications. Mrs. Lamb.
Thank you. So it's been a great last couple of weeks, very busy. I had the opportunity to attend the Chinese Club welcome party, soiree, to welcome the new family members of San Marino. And it was such a great event. Everyone was very welcoming. Principals were also introduced, as well as a city manager. So very much enjoyed. And yesterday we had our special board session on bond feasibility. And in the coming months, we're really looking forward to the upcoming events at the respective schools, including Carver Plug Parent Party, Valentine Plug Fall Festival, Huntington Breakfast, and also various events at the high school level. So it's going to be great next couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Mrs. Gill.
So I also attended the Chinese Club welcome reception. Along with other board members and cabinet members, and it was a very lovely party that they put on. I attended the HMS back to school night and SMHS back to school night, both as a parent and board member capacity. I've gone to football games, volleyball games. Yesterday, my 6th grader left to go to Cuyamaca for the annual outdoor education. We're missing him already. But overall, life is seeming to settle down and get back to normal after like the rush of all the receptions and meetings for back to school night. And I just have to say, I'm really enjoying hearing the ways in which our board goals are going to become real life actions from our various principals. Because, you know, we did work pretty hard on crafting our 4 board goals of safety and wellness, fiscal responsibility, culture of service, and preparing our students to be high quality global citizens. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. John.
Thank you. So in addition to the activities also mentioned by my other board members, also I'll speak of something that I did differently. So so as to not rehash. So I did have a talk with our Boy Scout troop and spoke about being an elected official and what democracy means. And I think that was a great opportunity to share a little bit about what a board does on a really local level. The part that I always find amusing is that we take the same constitutional oath as the president. And so kind of find that funny. But also went to the safety night at the high school PTA council meeting. We had Chinese Club City Appreciation Breakfast. I literally was running past and Alan sort of flagged me down, and I was able to be there with board member Vice President Chang as well. Appreciate that the city does that for our first responders and our city employees, or sorry, the Chinese Club does that for our city. And then also had a facility advisory committee meeting and our board study session yesterday, which is showing that we're really on a nice track of getting a lot of work done. I think seeing all of the pieces falling into place when they're time to fall into place, and really making sure that we are engaging the community as much as possible, that we are being as visible in all of our activities and thoughtful, I think is really the key here. So I'm very confident about our ability to continue to work with our community on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chang.
Okay, first of all, August 23rd, I attend the new principal reception at the Huntington Middle School. Oh, by the way, I just provide this picture. This yesterday, Chinese Club, they have 911 breakfast appreciation to the city police department and the fire department. I've been attend I think more than 22 years, because this event was initiated with me and the couple Chinese Club director in 1990, I think 1995. Yeah. So traditionally, 9/11 September 11. So Chinese Club, they always bring the breakfast to the police department. This event even before the 9/11 event, because at the time we already think as the citizen of San Marino, so we need to always appreciate the police department and the fire department. With that, so I show this picture. So on the day, two board members, me and Jen Chong, attend the meeting. Yeah. And the first time we have a puppy attend the event.
Yeah. It was a monumental event having the puppy there.
Okay, besides that, I also have a side visit for, thank you for high school principal and Dr. Richter, assistant superintendent. So I have a side visit at the Medical Art Academy class. And most importantly, you know, I appreciate, you know, the school district very emphasize about the safety issue. So we host 4 times. I think we attend 4 times. Yeah. So I think we can memorize what we need to do within a couple of seconds, right? Besides that, I also, on behalf of the board president, Sherry Ryan, attend the PTA council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chang. Some of you guys may know this in the room, but Mr. Chang has served on our board tirelessly for 22 years. I don't think there's an initiative that I'm aware of that he didn't initiate. So in any case, thank you, Mr. Chang, for how active you are and engaged. I did attend the Huntington Back to School Night. Thank you, Ms. Hazlett, for a wonderful evening. I think it really showcased our schools. The Chinese Club welcomed our 2 new principals. And were you there? No, at the Chinese Club? Okay, so I'll mention that to the Chinese Club and make sure that you get an invite. Okay, so welcome, and we're so excited to have the 2 of you guys at the helm. San Marino Titan football against Royal El Monte. We were able to be victorious. Huntington Hospital, I continue to volunteer there. In August 28th, Mrs. Chong and myself, I think Mr. Chang was there also for our FAC. And we continue to look at the needs of our students, our faculty, and the community in looking at our facilities. On the 30th, I attended compliance training. And we did attend 4 safety presentations. I too can speak on those slides. I became trainer of restorative practices, back to school night at San Marino High School. Nicely done. I liked the performances. And then finally, San Marino was away. We played Rosemead, another victory for us at 42-7. LACO continues to train in PBIS, and San Marino played Crescenta Valley. Unfortunately, we were not as successful there, but what great effort was put out by our coaching staff as well as our students. And finally, I continue to work on the Asian Pacific School Board Members Association, and we continue to push out initiatives regarding cultural consciousness. And we're one of the committees that represents and meets with CSBA. And finally, the last one, National Institute of School Leaders Training. I completed that, or I'm in the progress of completing that, and working on the facilities board study session yesterday at our special board meeting. Thank you. All right, next. Student board member Megan Joy first, and then Superintendent Dr. Delatorre. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, President Ryan. From the student side, the first few weeks of school have definitely also been starting to calm down, but still so much has been going on. So starting from the San Marino High School side, we did come back from the long weekend pretty strong with fundraisers for several of our athletic teams, including water polo, girls volleyball. It's so great to see all the students come out and support at restaurants and all that good stuff. In continuation with our athletic support, ASB is continuing to help work football games with our theme nights, the most recent one being Neon Night. We had all of our students come out with puff paint and glow sticks, and it's just so great to see, very high school-esque. In ASB's planning side currently, we are continuing to plan homecoming, which will be taking place the week of October 20th. So I hope to see you all come out and support our team. And more recently, we have our Fall Spirit Assembly coming up this Friday, which is really what I think is San Marino High School's most frequent, consistent, and honestly the best way to showcase all of our performing groups, all of our athletic teams for the respective seasons. We have these assemblies, and we have some very exciting activities coming up on that. On the HMS side, I've been able to see that they're really making strides in student support this year, and really providing resources to balance the academic stress with mental health resources. The main way being Wellness Wednesdays and their wellness lounge is I've been seeing all of like the quiet areas, lots of greenery, different ways to de-stress. So there are a little bit more of a solitary options. There's stretching, all of that. And as you have seen, the 6th graders were also sent off to Cuyamaca this week. So yeah, super great on HMS side. I've always loved the outdoor education opportunities. I know many of us at the high school, as we reflect on our San Marino Unified journey, it's always such a standout. And on the elementary sides, Carver and Valentine have also been coming up strong with their welcome back activities. Valentine and Carver both having their bike rodeo, Valentine having their Lunch with a Loved One event, which I love the name, I must say. And then on the Carver side, having their family picnic coming up this Thursday, as well as a visit from our Titan band next Friday. Super exciting. And of course, all of our schools had their respective back to school night events. Coming from the high school side, I was lucky enough to not only perform, but to work at ASB always ushers the parents. I was able to see some of you there. And from an ASB perspective, it's always great to see the teachers really making an effort to communicate to our parents what kind of just essentially what we're going through on the daily. I feel like because education changes so frequently and obviously it evolves from when our parents, some of us, when our parents were going to San Marino. And I just know that students are just always so appreciative when your parents come home and they realize what challenges you go through. San Marino is a very rigorous district. There's no denying that, but always very grateful for what we learn. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Delatorre?
Yes, thank you, Madam President, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Choi, and executive team. I'm very pleased to announce that San Marino High School is fully staffed now. And our team is here this evening, and we're so proud of the work that they've already begun doing at San Marino High School. Last Friday, the faculty hosted a welcome luncheon potluck for our administration, and Dr. Richter and I were able to attend, and the camaraderie, the sense of belonging and connectedness was very apparent. And I really feel like it's contagious and it's wonderful. And I'm so pleased with the team that we have in place now. They're going to do great things at San Marino High School, leading us into the future. So congratulations on hiring our assistant principal, Sarah Pinalora, who is doing a wonderful job and has hit the ground running, and who has remarked that she feels that she's been drinking water from a fire hose lately, but it's getting better, and that's completely normal. So it's all good stuff. And Dr. Wolf has just been incredible, really providing leadership and guidance and mentorship to his entire faculty. So good things are happening there. We are very excited to have Dr. Richter and her team putting together a ribbon cutting ceremony that will take place for our Medical Arts Academy on September 21st at 5 p.m. in the quad area. We have invited an awful lot of very important people, dignitaries, that we hope will attend, and we're hoping that all 5 of our wonderful board members will be there as well. So we're going to be giving tours of the classroom. Anybody who wants to tour the Wellness Center will be able to do that as well. We're going to give demos of the anatomage tables and Precision OS, which is the virtual reality tool that simulates being in a virtual operating room. So that should be very, very exciting. And Dr. Richter has done an awful lot of work putting that together with her team. So,
Yes.
so thank you for doing that. And we're super excited for that. Also, we are looking forward to the San Marino Schools Foundation newcomers mixer tomorrow night at the Old Mill. So that should be a wonderful opportunity to orient our new families to the school district, and to make some new friends and really forge relationships with new people. Additionally, as our wonderful student board member mentioned, we're also looking forward to the Carver Family Picnic on Thursday. So our team will be there as well to connect with families. And I did want to mention that I was at Carver this morning, and it was just a wonderful experience. And it always is going, to Carver. I always say it's the happiest place on earth, next to Disneyland. But you just step foot on that campus and you just feel a sense of pride and camaraderie, connectedness. It's just wonderful. I was able to observe our new counselor, and thank you to the Board of Education for adding that much needed position to the elementary. She was delivering a second step lesson, and it was just wonderful to see those kiddos engaged in social emotional learning, and this counselor just was doing a great job connecting with those students. So thank you, Principal Caldwell, for all the work that you're doing. And Principal Caldwell was on campus on Saturday, sanding down and painting a lot of our tables. And that is above and beyond. Additionally, our board member Jane Chon was there working side by side and actually went out to provide lunch for everybody that was working hard on Saturday, and they will be back this Saturday to finish that work. So we're very fortunate to have such dedicated, hardworking individuals coming together in this community to make our schools an even better place. And so I just am so proud to be a part of that experience. I will be coming to Huntington next week, and I'm looking forward to walking into those classrooms and getting a sense of where we are this year under your leadership, Principal Hazlett. And I also want to take this opportunity just to extend my sincerest gratitude and appreciation for the executive team, Jennifer Delatorre, and all of our principals for all the hard work that they have been doing over the summer and into the beginning of our school year. It takes a lot of work to get our schools open at the beginning of the school year, and it was seamless this year. We didn't have any issues whatsoever, and I just feel like this is the best team that we have had in place in decades, and I'm so proud of all of them and grateful for their hard work. So that's it. Thank you.
All right.
President Ryan, before we conclude the communication, can I show a wonderful picture?
Yes,
Everyone?
sure. You got a dog as well?
Is it Logan?
I know. Oh, we saw the wonderful pictures.
Well, this is a reward when you come, so then you will have a picture.
Yeah.
Did we get a picture of them right now today?
I already took it.
Okay.
I have it in my phone. I'll share it with you
Perfect.
all later. Yeah. What a great team.
Yeah, Michelle's braving it with the kiddos.
Yeah.
It's like a hazing for APs.
We'll see if she comes back.
Right. Oh, I actually forgot. I did want to mention one other thing. I actually overlooked because I kept popping in and out. So I was able to go to the Michael White Adobe Open House on Saturday, which is really cool. There's really great images there of how the high school used to just be like a vineyard, and it's just a crazy thing. So they host these open houses, and it's part of this whole California conservation kind of movement, and that was really great to see the work that they're doing, and they're hoping to find ways to open that up for our students more, so that our students can learn more about the history. And they actually did a curriculum with third grade last year with Dr. Richter's assistance. And so finding that out, I actually brought Jillian back, and she was able to see it with her own eyes. So it's really neat seeing that partnership between the Michael White Adobe House Foundation and our schools.
All right. Number 11, information items. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Superintendent Dr. Delatorre for the 2023-2024 middle school board goals presentation.
Thank you, President Ryan, members of the Board of Education, Student Board Member Troy, and the executive team. This evening, we have Principal Mary Hazlett here to present on the Huntington Middle School Action Plan, which is directly associated with the 4 broad-based goals that the Board of Education developed in June. So with that, interim principal, if you will come to the podium and begin your presentation. Thank you so much.
Wearing heels today. Taller. Thank you, President Ryan, Superintendent Delatorre, members of the board, Student Board Member Choi, executive team. My name is Mary Hazlett, proud principal of Henry E. Huntington Middle School, and I'm happy here to present about how we are going to meet and exceed the board's goals this year. Board goal number 1 is about safety and wellness. Yeah, there we go. Are you doing it too? All right, I'll let you. Dr. Choi and I are fighting for the clicker. Safety and wellness is not only a top priority district-wide, but is also a main focus at Huntington Middle School. We will continue our annual CPR, disaster preparedness, and other training and drills for staff and students as we teach and practice procedures for an earthquake, fire, and critical incidents. We are grateful for the expanded targeted security training our staff have been receiving from Peter Crabb through the district. We have been expanding and heightening the fences and entrance security around campus, including more cameras and buzzer entries. We will continue to have our site safety teams review and analyze our comprehensive school site safety plans in collaboration with SMPD, SM Fire Department, and LACO. In order to create safety and wellness at our schools, it includes community involvement and awareness. We prioritize safety and wellness at our school site council meetings with participation from San Marino Police and Fire, as well as during our monthly PTA meetings and monthly staff meetings. We are fortunate to partner with Chinatown Services for wellness support for our students and families. Our Family Matters workshop series is beginning September 28th and is a free 10-part workshop series led by mental health professionals, providing a space for parents and their children to learn about communication and to build and strengthen their relationships. Our HMS Wellness Center is a popular place for students to visit during lunchtime, known as the Zen Zone, as well as a supportive space for counseling. We have added information from the Titan Wellness Center into our Fox Parent Student Handbook with information on how to make a referral. We continue to promote the Titan Wellness Center in our weekly newsletter and other communications. Our web students, Where Everyone Belongs, comprised of upperclassmen who provide encouragement and information to our 6th grade students, not only help at the beginning of the year through an orientation, but also join our ASB to provide answers and guidance to families during events such as Back to School Night. We're excited to have the 2nd year of teachers and staff learning restorative practices techniques for creating deeper communities in their classrooms, which gives students a stronger sense of belonging and a responsibility to the group. Our second board goal focus is on fiscal health and sustainability. Huntington Middle School is supporting board goal number 2 through our continued work towards sustaining and increasing enrollment year after year. We continue to collaborate with San Marino Schools Foundation, our PTA, Chinese Club, Rotary Club, and other community groups to sustain and increase our enrollment. Our enrollment continues to increase with 687 students at Huntington as of today. With the amount of requests we receive from families already wanting to join next year our schools, our employees wanting their children to attend our schools, and the many school tours to prospective families we do throughout the year, it's clear that being a Huntington Fox comes with great pride as our students receive a superior education each and every day. Our fiscal health and sustainability includes collaborating with teachers, staff, and community members on a needs assessment and master plan to ensure our facilities are top-notch, attractive, and functional for students, staff, and families. We are committed to promote and share our school's success via a variety of platforms, especially social media, our weekly newsletter, our school website, and local newspapers. It's important that our community and those interested in attending SMUSD schools are aware and knowledgeable of our academic and enrichment programs, our special events through our outstanding PTA, and our close partnerships with our parents and families. Board Goal 3 is about demonstrating a conscious culture of service, value, and appreciation. This is my natural place. My first job was Nordstrom, just to let you know. I'm all about customer service and making people happy. At Huntington, our priority is demonstrating a culture of service, value, and appreciation. We do this through clear communication with families, staff, and students about events, opportunities, and expectations. We celebrate student success at monthly gatherings, heard through the daily announcements, seen via social media, and student work displayed in the HMS main office lobby. We added a new way to communicate opportunities such as after-school academic support, daily lunchtime hangout locations, flyers for upcoming dances and events, and excellent student work through our new 7 display cases throughout campus. You can see them looking at it on the left and the bottom there. We support collaborative community opportunities with students and families, such as with Rotary and the Teen Leadership Camp, and our grade 4 to 6 district and LA County spelling bees. You see the winners of last year there on the right. We share the great things going on at HMS with the community via newsletters, newspapers, social media, email, my monthly webinar, and conversations in public arenas such as the annual Huntington Breakfast or the Chinese Club of San Marino's Mid-Autumn Festival. We continue to collaborate with our outstanding PTA about staff appreciation events and memorable student activities such as dances and noontime fun events. Board Goal 4. In order to prepare our students to be high-quality global citizens, we will continue to encourage student participation in all of our clubs, hangouts, academic teams, athletic teams, outdoor education opportunities, and other community opportunities. Our staff and teachers will continue to implement their knowledge of restorative practices with classroom students to deepen their sense of belonging and community. The next cohort of UDL teachers will highlight and celebrate the various strategies and opportunities students have to learn material and express mastery of the content. We will follow up with teacher collaboration on those best practices and always share the findings. Lastly, we will continue to reinforce HMS character traits, celebrate those who exemplify them, and reward students both verbally and non-verbally for acting in a manner that is becoming to a Huntington Fox and our San Marino Unified School District's students. Thank you. I'm happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, Ms. Hazlett. All right. I think you have just done a wonderful job, and thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great.
All right. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Lin for the school facility fee justification report.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 12B is the first reading of the school facility fee justification report. This fee is also commonly known as a developer fee for property owners who enlarge their homes or build an additional unit within their parcels in terms of square footage. Although a fee study can be done every 2 years to account for inflation, the district has not done a study in the last 5 years, primarily due to COVID. The new rates are $4.79 per square foot of additional space for residential and 78 cents per square foot for commercial construction. Previously, in 2018, when the assessment was done, it is $3.79 for residential and 61 cents for commercial. The fees report was developed by school facility consultants. We have Jared Anderson from School Facilities Consultants on Zoom to answer any questions that the board might have.
I do have a question. So what are the numbers in the past of what our developer fees have raised in the last 2 or 3 years? And then what are we expecting from this upcoming future years?
The last amounts that I remember, I don't have the exact numbers for the 2 years, but I could look it up. Is in the 70,000, 70 to 80,000 a year. It depends on the number of folks who are going to renovate their homes. If the renovation results in no increase in square footage, there's no developer fee. If the renovations result in an increase in size, in square footage, then that's when the developer fee is levied.
So how does this align with some of the new housing regulations and the addition of the ADUs that are going up? Do we have an idea of how much this will generate?
So we're going from $3. So mostly San Marino is mostly residential. So for the last 5 years, it's been $3.79. Now the market value is $4.79. So $1 increase. And that's about, I would say, 25 to 30% since 5 years ago. That increase, I would say, is under 100,000 if we're looking at $80,000 a year on average.
An additional, or we're looking at about 80,000 in the future years.
Right. And this is to defray the cost of impact on the district when we anticipate additional students. And Jared, if you could, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
No, I think you hit everything that's important. I think just overall, it's important to just make sure that it's understood that the developer fee, it's intended to mitigate the impact to school facilities by increasing residential square footage. And that includes ADUs. So, a new ADU over time may increase the enrollment to the district. And so this is the statutory method that school districts are allowed to use to help offset that facility cost. And that, that cost may be in new facilities, additions, that cost may be in modernization. So it just depends on the district's need.
What if a home is a 2,000 square foot home and then they decide to completely get rid of it and rebuild a new one, but it's still at 2,000 square feet? Does a developer fee still kick in?
No, you would get you would only have to pay on the difference. So if you increased it, you would pay on that difference. But in your example, since it's the same square footage, there would be no developer fee charged.
And how does this compare with other school districts in the area? Is that a pretty standard number?
So this is the statewide maximum, $4.79 for K-12. I don't know particularly in your area, but statewide, the vast majority, or many, I shouldn't say the vast majority, but many school districts actually adopt the increase. This increase was actually made in January of 2022. So, and a new increase is expected in January of 2024. And so this is actually kind of on the tail end of the cycle, if that makes sense. And so very many districts across the state have already increased to the 2022 fee of $4.79 for residential and 78 cents for commercial industrial. So I don't know off the top of my head for sure, but it's very likely that many of the school districts in your area are at this higher rate.
And this is a random question. It uses San Diego commercial data. Why San Diego?
No, it's not a random question. It's a question that happens every time. And So that's for commercial industrial specifically. And the statute that governs how the method that we use to develop this analysis specifically cites a report done in San Diego that outlines the employees per square foot of various commercial industrial types of development. So for instance, warehouses or hotels or office space, all of those have a different employee per square foot. So an office space generally has the most employees for that, and a warehouse has one of the fewer amounts of employees per square foot, and that helps us give a baseline across the state of, in general, how many employees would say 10,000 square foot of warehouse space generate, and then we use that number to help determine the justification for the commercial fee for the district. Now, all other items or data points in the analysis for commercial industrial are based on district-specific district-specific data points, but there isn't, to my knowledge, there isn't a report that if we had something that was district-specific for San Marino, then we could definitely use that. But in general, it's a standard practice to use that San Diego set of numbers just for the employees per square foot of type of development.
I have a question related to additions. So there's a section in here that specifies additions of 500 square feet or greater. So anything under 500 would not have this new increased rate. Is that the understanding?
It shouldn't have any residential rate. So it wouldn't have
any,
the,
okay.
yeah, it wouldn't have the old or the new. Yes. There's some edge cases and some sort of special circumstances, but in general, you are correct.
Thank you.
So the development fee school district collect, is that not go to the general fund or?
It's a highly restricted fund.
Yeah, so which category we put in the financial statement?
It's for construction, expansion of facilities only. We cannot even buy computers. It has to be space for students. It goes into construction.
So even not for the repair, for the.
That would be more like deferred maintenance.
Yeah, deferred maintenance, is that okay to use?
I would be very cautious. The intent of that restricted fund is to expand student housing for students, meaning classroom space for students, right? Not for that. I will have to check whether or not we can use it for repairs. I don't think so. Jared, is that correct?
Yeah, so you hit on this sort of middle gray area there. You're right in the sense that like something that's a deferred maintenance item that really wouldn't be allowed. There are some modernization cases that, depending on maybe how it was funded through the state program, there could be we could perhaps make that work. But you're absolutely right. The safest way, right between the goalposts, is new construction, additions, that's really what it's intended for. And I would say that if we wanted to stray from that, then we would want to go on advice of legal counsel and maybe take a look. And perhaps there's a place there, but definitely a deferred maintenance item. You're right on the money. That's not something that this is intended for.
Yeah, we have some, the classroom is a trailer. So is that replaceable or not?
I think if it resulted in a new classroom.
If it's a temporary trailer, now we're splitting hair. We have to be really careful. If we're doing construction, right, Jared?
Yeah, you can pay for intermediate housing. you know, with developer fees, lease portables, you know, there's some things that we could do there for sure. But, you know, repairing is, like I said, it's a gray area, and we'd want to make sure that we, you know, cross our T's and dot our I's on exactly what we use it on, if we stray outside that new construction, new space box.
In terms of timing, it says it takes 60 days after the board adopts it. So would this, in terms of people who are falling within that window, is it they're completing it? They're pulling permits for it?
So it's pulling permits. It's when the that's usually when the fee is paid. And then to my knowledge, this is the first reading, correct? So I don't even know if that 60 days starts yet. That would be at adoption. And so that there is
September 26 is that
60
the
days
next? Yeah.
right. And then there are, you know, if the board were, this is just for information purposes. If the board were, there's a method that the board can declare an emergency situation, and there's a resolution that can be passed, and that would allow the district to collect the increased fee immediately. But you know, typically just a straight adoption of the report, it doesn't go into effect for 60 days.
But there's another fee that's going, there's likely another fee increase effective in January 24, you were saying?
Correct. And, you know, that's a conversation, you know, once this gets in place and we have this set, that is a conversation that, you know, I can have with the district about, you know, maybe taking another look at this. Often we'll do, you know, a kind of an update analysis, you know, make sure that nothing drastic has changed in the district. This does take some time to put together, right? And so a lot of this information is, you know, 6 months to sometimes the enrollment is actually now a year old because we use CBED's enrollment for 22, 23, right? And so by January of 2024, now that enrollment will be, right, 18 months old, even though the report will only have been adopted for roughly, you know, 4 or 5 months. And so that's, you know, something that we want to make sure that nothing major changed, and that the district is still fully justified to collect whatever that higher fee may be. And those fee adjustments, by the way, I haven't mentioned this, they're based on a statewide construction cost index that is managed by the state allocation board through OPSC and the state allocation board. And so they make those adjustments in January of even numbered years based on inflation. And that is why we don't know what it will be yet. But it also explains the drastic increase in the past, you know, 3 to 4 years, because as we know, inflation has really hit, you know, hit us all, but especially the construction costs that, you know, as a school district, you are having to, you know, you're incurring in order to take care of your facilities.
Related to Paul Jen Chong question about ADU, I just like to one more time confirm. So if right now resident they build a ADU, is that collectible or no?
Over 500.
ADUs are collectible. They are a distinct dwelling unit. They are not an addition that is subject to that 500 square foot reduction. And so an ADU, even if it is smaller than 500 square foot, it would be subject to collection. At least that is the way the majority of school district legal counsels take the view that they take. So again, you know, that's something we can make sure that that we all agree on, but I think that that's a standard practice.
Okay, so I would like to, besides this is the first hearing, so maybe right now is the time we need to prepare for the future question from the citizen, like the ADU issue. And also ADU may we also relate to the student enrollment. Yeah. Right. Yeah. How we can I mean the design who's eligible to
Yeah, and just so that you're aware, there have been some confusing legislation about that in the past. And so there's been some differing opinions through the last couple of years about ADUs and developer fees, and occasionally cities will take one stance, and then a school district may take a different stance, or different school districts may take different stances. And so you know, it is something, you know, it's our view, school facility consultants' view, my view, that a school district is entitled to the developer fee revenue from a ADU unit that is constructed within its district boundaries.
I have a question. How does that revenue make its way to us? I mean, I know it's paid during permits, when they pull the permits, but so the city does an accounting and sends it to us, or do they?
Yeah, and you know, correct me if I'm speaking out of turn here, but typically what happens, I'm not 100% sure in San Marino's specific case, but typically what happens is that there's a certificate of compliance required that the city gives to the developer or the builder, and they must take that to the school district. And in order for the school district to sign that they're in compliance, then they must receive the developer fee. And then they take that certificate back to the city, and then they are issued their building permit.
And it ties to the question that Member Chang asked earlier about the timeline. So we bring it back for a second reading. And if the board decides to approve this on September 26th, then we have 60 days. That takes us to the end of November, when we have our second meeting in November. But within those 60 days, staff will be busy working with the city, updating the fee structure and the process that's involved. The city basically does the collection, and then we get that check.
And we already advertise on the newspaper, right?
Yes, we've advertised the hearing 2 weeks in a row in compliance. And we have also posted the hearing 10 days in advance, at least 10 days in advance, in 3 different site locations and on the district website. So the notices, or you know, newspaper articles have gone out inviting people to this meeting.
Can I ask a question? Does the collection of these fees encumber us to build anything specific?
No, it doesn't. The justification report does outline need, and it's growth need, but it doesn't specify, you know, where and how that must be made. That is up to the district, and the district's discretion on what its facility needs are.
Because I will say one thing that was lacking in this particular needs statement was a lot of reference was made to fourth and fifth grade because of the sizes. But one concern that I'm having is that we don't have proper facilities for our TK students in terms of like closer bathroom needs for them. And so I'm just wanting to make sure that anything we're putting in here doesn't necessarily mean that's what we have to end up building, but that we can make sure it's meeting whatever our actual needs may be in the future.
Right, and absolutely, you're absolutely correct. And I just I have it up, and I just did a quick review on this, and the report identifies that the district's major need areas are in the TK through 5 grade group. And so that includes those TK classrooms, you know, and districts across the state are going through, you know, the full day TK or the full year, right? The expanded TK. And so there's a need across the state for TK classrooms. And because they're so specialized, like you mentioned, it's been expensive for districts to make that need. And this report justifies and outlines that need in that grade group in general, but that absolutely gives the district the flexibility it needs to spend that money where it needs to, including the TK classrooms.
Thank you.
So staff's going to bring it back to the board for a second reading on September 26th.
Yes, and Dr. Lin, thank you so much for your work on this. As noted here, you had submitted prior on June 30th, and the report will be brought back to the board by September 26th board meeting for approval. Thank you so much. Number 12 are action items. I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Lin to present the 2022 to 2023 unaudited actuals financial report.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 13A contains the unaudited actuals for the 22-23 fiscal year that closed on June 30th. Each summer, the accounting team worked very diligently on year-end closing to reconcile all accounts for all programs. In doing so, staff worked creatively to transfer some expenses appropriately that could be transferred to more restricted funds to free up unrestricted funds. The result added $5 million to the ending balance, which can be seen on page 2 of the report under other assigned balances. Now, these $5 million, due to our increasing student enrollment, we have hired additional teachers and staff. So $1 million is assigned to help cover the costs of the new teachers and classified staff that we've hired. The increase in enrollment will eventually yield ADA revenues later this year, and the positions that we have added will become self-sustaining. Also, like last year, and we saw Principal Hazlitt's presentation, we set aside $1 million to implement board goals and align our programs to those board goals. The third $1 million is assigned to program innovations to support the deployment of innovative programs, such as the Tech Academy, headed by Dr. Choi. We heard about the Dual Language Immersion, Medical Arts Academy, Instructional Technology, and many other initiatives that we're going to be piloting. Another $1 million is assigned for instructional materials and textbooks. We need to do some adoptions in terms of instructional materials, much needed adoptions. And finally, the much needed deferred maintenance that we talked about earlier. We've had some damages due to recent weather events, not covered by insurance. We've also have repair needs. So $1 million is assigned to defer maintenance for repairs and for deferred maintenance. So that adds up to the $5 million that accounting was able to very diligently and creatively assign those expenses out from unrestricted funds to restricted funds in a way that allows us to benefit and create these, fund these programs. And I would say credit certainly goes to the accounting director, Vanjie Lengat, and her team for their hard work. In fact, I rolled up my sleeves and I did journal entries, stacks and stacks of journal entries with them. And I can totally empathize with them as to the level of work that's involved. So Mrs. Lengat worked weekends and evenings. I was here to witness that. And we were able to, so she was able to finally take one day off yesterday, and she called it a mental break day. And she did return today. So I'm really happy that she was able to return. So the unaudited actuals will now undergo an independent audit from an independent audit firm. Once completed, we will invite the auditor to do a full presentation at a future board meeting. Now, in the meantime, staff would like the board to approve last year's unaudited actuals, so staff may file the report with the county by September 15th.
By the way, I think since last year, we have a joint program with PCC, dual enrollment. So with this program, I think the PCC, they pay for the teacher salary, right? Or we also have to come out our own for the labor fee.
So PCC, my understanding, PCC is funding that program. They get
Yeah.
their state, and so we benefit from
Right.
there.
So, so we don't have to budget for.
We
Eh,
don't, but
yeah.
there are other costs involved with anything innovative.
Uh-huh.
Anytime there is a classroom used, there could be supplies, electricity,
Instructional material.
instructional
But
materials.
you mentioned about medical art academy. What the expense we need
So-
to spend?
We're very fortunate and grateful for a sizable donation from PT affiliates. And the thing is, things might break down and we don't have a budget for that, but now we do have a budget for this. We may even need a new table if enrollment increases. There could be an update to the OS that requires some funding. There are unanticipated costs, and sometimes it's better to put some money there just to cover those costs.
And the intention is, if I may, and I want to thank Rotary also for their donation to the Medical Arts Academy. The intention always is to grow and expand the program. And so what we have today currently is our baseline. That's how we're launching our program, but we always want to provide expanded levels or heightened levels of innovation, equipment, state-of-the-art technology, state-of-the-art curriculum. So we always want to improve on what we have. San Marino is notorious for that. We want to maintain that high level of rigor and expectation and opportunity for our students. So there are costs that will be coming down the line as we continue to grow and expand and refine our programs.
And Dr. Richter has been talking about the potential of adding a feeder class at Huntington Middle School for the Medical Arts Academy. And there would be some expenses associated with the launch of that class.
How about the transportation? Do we need to budget more? Even though we get a free from the city, but I think this issue been discussed by by I think a booster. So do we have enough resource
Yes.
to cover for transportation?
Yes. So that was one of those pressure points last year when I looked at the budget. Where are the needs? And one area is the transportation piece. We looked at home to school transportation and that didn't work because that will actually cost more in the long run. So transportation, historically, we got $110,000 from the city, Prop A for Adam. We were able to increase that to $150,000, $40,000 increase. And that covers the costs of the Caltech and the Huntington Library programs, the transportation for those two programs. But we also have additional needs. Brewster clubs, VAPA, they need that, right? The TAB and the Friends of VAPA. So at the high school, we have 21 athletic organizations, and we have 7 VAPA organizations. That's just the high school. And so we purchased 2 passenger vans recently. And each passenger van can accommodate 9 passengers and the driver, maximum 10 people. Above that, we have to get a Class B license, different criteria. So that's going to help cut the cost down in terms of going with a third-party charter busing company. More recently, yesterday, we had the 6th grade science trip, and there was a shortage of seats. And we asked the high school, and the high school was able to say, yeah, we have 1 passenger van that we can loan you for a week. And that saved the day. So it's just the timing was just perfect. And no student was like left behind, you know. Yes.
So all of the school district vehicle, the insurance, liability insurance, is that insured by JPA or other?
We have insurance through the JPA.
And that's,
Cover that.
yeah, in that implementation of that portion of transportation, not Prop A, but that portion of transportation, there's that collaboration with the JPA such that we get that liability coverage. So it's not as simple as just getting the vans and everything's like, oh, what about, you know, there's also the gas card. We have to get the credit card to get gas. So we don't have to go through the reimbursement process. There's a whole infrastructure that's set up to have the kids enjoy those two passenger events. The PTSA, I want to, give a shout out to them. They donated money towards that effort. It's just, we're so fortunate to have such generous PTAs and the PTSA contributing to that effort. The goal now is to get one more passenger van so that we have three. Three is optimal for the high school. So we are working on that as well this year.
I had 2 comments and 2 questions. So the first comment was, I noticed that the arts music grant is back in play. So it looks like it was made whole. So I'm happy that the state gave us that money, which also, correct me if I'm wrong, gives us a little bit of breathing room while we're waiting for Prop 28 money to be finalized, right?
Prop 28 money is finalized and the school sites, every school site has to adopt a plan on how they're going to spend it. And our principals have finalized their plans and they'll be coming to the board at our next board meeting on September 26th.
Okay, so we'll find out more there on that. And in general, I was so impressed with how many grants that we have. So thank you, Dr. Richter, because I know you've been doing a lot of writing there. That was always something that people would say that we need to do more, and we just did not have the capacity to do that. So I know that's a huge part, and thanks to you. My second question was, I noticed on the ADA, or comment was, I noticed on the ADA, our ADA technically went down because we're no longer held harmless this year. So even though technically we have more students, our funding went down, but the amount went up because we're being funded at a higher level thanks to good returns. So my question is, and I know you don't have a crystal ball, but what are we looking to, do we have any idea of how that's going to continue to play out? Because the money that we get is always subject to whatever the state brings in.
That is correct. So we're looking at seabeds, which is going to happen on the first Wednesday in October. So that's going to be
nobody missed school the
right.
first Wednesday of
Right.
October.
So that number is huge, but we don't get funded by seabeds. We don't get funded by enrollment. It's P1 in February.
Oh, yes.
Mhm.
Okay.
So this is why one of the $1 million, we have to shore up the staffing that we got. Where's the money coming from? Well, we have to bridge it to February when we do get that ADA. Historically, we've got 97% of enrollment in terms of ADA. We get funded by ADA. And I'm pretty sure our revenues will go up. Our portion will go up commensurate to the enrollment increase.
Okay. And then, actually, that wasn't the, so I did have 2 questions specifically though in the report. So there's the COVID relief funds that are showing we have for, I don't know what page number it is on that. It's like way down there too. So, and I don't have a page number according to that. Mine's according to the packet. But we have ESSER 3 monies, and then we've got, I think, ESSER 3 LLM, and I don't know, there's different numbers. So I guess my question is, when do we need to expend those funds, and have we already come up with plans for that?
The one major one we haven't spent yet, and we're in the process of spending, is the $900,000 ESSER 3 that's due September 30th, 2024. We already hired ABM. They're hard at work, and we're scheduling the time when they can come in to minimize the impact on those classrooms.
Those are the HVACs that we're doing.
Yes. So once that's spent, that's the vast majority of our COVID residual funds. The goal is, of course, as what Director Vanji Linga has been doing very creatively, is to spend those first and save us unrestricted funds.
And then my other question has to do with the special education. Where do we have a sense of what we budgeted versus what our actuals were in our special education costs?
Special education is tied to what's called MOE, maintenance of effort. We have to spend at least $1 more than what we spent last year. Now, barring occasional litigations that we either anticipate or not anticipate, sometimes we get an IEP or get a case where there's a lawsuit involved. So we do buffer some legal fees there. But the MOE is basically how much we spent last year, and we have to spend $1 more, $1 or more.
So even if you're trying to make reductions in special education to contain your cost,
Right,
the state doesn't really allow you to do that.
right.
And I
Right.
think that's an important thing for us all to remember. And isn't special education approximately 20% of our budget?
20, yes.
That's what I noticed.
It's a little bit over 20% of our budget. So like 20.58%, something like this.
So are there more so I guess my question kind of goes in two pieces though, because it's, did we expect that much did we expect that we were going to spend that much last year? And then, this is what we actually spent. So I'm just looking forward to, are we budgeting the appropriate amount then for this coming year, knowing that it might be more? And then the second part of that being, why was it more? Was it litigation? Was it there are more students who have needs that we didn't anticipate, coming up? I mean, and so I'm just trying to make sure that we're using our our last year's data to really inform what we're budgeting for the next year.
We
for
use,
special ed specifically.
yeah, not just last year's data, but a trend of 5 years, multiple years, as well as projecting into the future. When we look at student enrollment, for example, we might get students who are CELPA students, who are not our students, but they attend our schools. If they are going to graduate out, if they're moving to their home districts. So we anticipate that. We use as much available data as possible to take a snapshot in time. But the unaudited actuals is the best snapshot we can use because we're dealing with real data there. Actual expenditures, actual revenues, actual ADA.
Right.
Whereas the projected budget that I presented in June, that's the best guess, given that the governors may revise.
Right.
So sometimes when we present these budgets, it's like, but you said this. Well, that was projected,
Right.
given the best data.
Living document. and all.
Right, exactly. Now, this unaudited actuals becomes audited, and that's real. That's when the auditor, third party, not us, they handle this and they'll present to the board their findings.
So we're still seeing rising costs in special ed. And the reasons are.
So
there's a variety of reasons,
there's
we have
layers
to.
to this issue. And we can dig into that, but one of the reasons that the maintenance of effort in special education exists is because the state wants to ensure that school districts are providing special needs students with all of the supports that they need. And so it's our responsibility and obligation to make sure through the IEP process that we're providing all the supports that special populations in fact need. And so there is a lot of reasons why, and it is what it is, but we know that we cannot spend any less than we did last year, next year. And
Right.
so, yeah.
I'm just trying to get a sense of, should we be in fact thinking that there may be more that we need to be budgeting? That's my
I
concern.
don't think we have any reason or cause to think that there's going to be a substantial increase.
Okay.
In our special education expenditures next year.
Okay.
There's always, the cost of doing business and inflation and all of those factors that we have to take into consideration, which we do. But I don't think there's any compelling reason why we should be concerned.
We're not seeing any trends that we need to be thinking about or worried about.
We've been following legislation
Yeah.
closely, Dr. Richter and I. Anything that, pounces at us, okay, we got to really take this into account, but nothing major. As for reasons why this could be very hard to predict, there are 13 different disabilities, and students usually have disabilities that are comorbid. And so that kind of compounds those challenges in how we predict the outcome of an IEP. Those are team decisions at the site levels. And then we're looking at the committed funds that we have, the cash flow fund that the board has approved last year. That money provides some level of buffer. So we have built in some of those buffers already.
And are we getting any additional assistance from the federal or state?
There was last year a boost in mental health. per student.
Not this year. That was a grant.
This year, I have to go back to my notes. Yeah,
But for special education, our director of SPED really takes a look every year. It's almost like the the multi-year projection. We look at our student population in special education and look and see how many of those students are continuing, how many of those students will be graduating, and what that does to the entire district as a whole with regards to numbers and expenditures. But our goal is always to exit the student from special education, put them in the least restrictive environment with the most supports possible based on their IEP so that they can exit the program. But then again, the state holds us kind of, with the MOE, with maintenance of effort to ensure that our students are getting the supports and services they need.
and another level of buffer is the SELPA. So we belong to a consortium, and that kind of, just like a JPA, it kind of, levels out the risks. Any major volatilities and costs is borne by 13 school districts within the JPA.
I have a question about the board goals, the $1 million allocation. I know we did that last year as well, and I just wanted to know what the actuals ended up being, what we spent on that, and if there's any left over, if it's carrying over.
So last year we had the goals. We did hire the site secretaries, customer service, right? That was one of the board goals, board priorities. Safety, certainly there was the wellness, there was fiscal sustainability, fiscal solvency. That's very important. This year, we talked about Peter Crabb. You've seen Peter Crabb's performance 4 times, right? So he's coming out of that first goal in the board goals. So we do have these priorities that the board has clearly shared, and we want to make sure we put dollars there so that we could implement those programs effectively.
Can we refer to page 130, 131?
It's different.
Wow.
It's different than
One.
On the
in our
packet.
board packet, it's 131.
You can tell
Not
them
on
what-
yours. Let me see.
For the child nutrition.
Page 6 of your report.
And
There,
Page 6, yeah.
the very top.
that one.
No.
No.
Okay. We no longer offer for free lunch, right?
We do.
We do lunch
here
and breakfast are both free.
And so what happened? We budget more for 23 to 24 to the
Sixth of the cafeteria fund.
1.4 million, right? So the 22 to 23, 854.
The rate of reimbursement went up, right?
Right, so we also have 1,000 more students eating.
Feeding more kids, and the state reimburses us for the cost of breakfast and lunch.
Right.
And the rate of reimbursement has gone up.
And also we've gotten grants. Our director of food services, she's applied for many grants. We don't get all of them, but we've got some of them.
But so this the budget is mean we are able to spend up to the 1.4. So mean the director able to apply the funding to support for 1.4, right?
Food services is completely self-sustaining. They are right now on the positive revenue generating side because of the effectiveness of the reimbursement program. And we're gonna be redesignating some of, and this is something we're gonna bring back to the board, redesignating the job classifications because 40% of the meals must be prepared from scratch. So now they're cooks, they're really cooking as opposed to here, just heating it in a microwave. So that's another transition, another change. Maybe that's why we're getting 1,000 more kids eating. It tastes better, you know.
Tastes so good. Yeah, it's true. They do, actually.
Makes you hungry.
Yeah.
we need action on this.
Yes, this is an action.
Our motion to approve the 2022-23 unaudited actuals financial report.
I move to adopt the unaudited actuals financial report for fiscal year 22-23.
Second.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, second.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan. Thank you, Mrs. Gill. And with that, a roll call vote. Mrs. Lamb. Aye. Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chan.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. Student board member.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. At this time, I would like to turn it over to Dr. Lin to present resolution number 4.
Thank you, President Ryan. This is a routine action item for the board to approve resolution 4 on the 2022-23 appropriations limit recalculation done at year-end closing and the 23-24 estimated appropriation limits calculation. The appropriations limit is calculated based on Government Code 7902, which is often referred to as the GAN limit, that was established by Proposition 4 in 1979. It is recommended that the board approve Resolution 4 as posted on the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Is that Mrs. Gill?
Yes.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. Thank you, Mr. Chang. With no further discussion, I'd like to do roll call. Mrs. Lamb. Aye. Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chan.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. And student board member.
Aye.
Thank you. I'd like to turn it over again to Dr. Lin to present resolution number 5.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 13C is another routine action item. Resolution 5 pertains to the certification of the Education Protection Account, or EPA, from the 22-23 unaudited actual revenues and expenditures. Resolution 5 relates to propositions 30 and 55. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve Resolution 5 as posted on the agenda.
Move to approve resolution 5. Sean.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Gill. With that, if there's no further discussion, roll call. Mrs. Lamb. Aye. Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chan.
Aye.
Mr. Chang.
Aye.
Mrs. Ryan. Aye. Student board member.
Aye.
Thank you. Dr. Lin, you have the last resolution. It is resolution number 6. This is to certify Education Protection Account, the EPA budgeted revenues and expenditures.
Thank you, President Ryan. Item 13D is the last routine action item for this evening. Resolution 6 is for the certification of the 23-24 budgeted revenues and expenditures of the Education Protection Account. It is recommended that the Board of Education approve Resolution 6 as posted on the agenda.
Move to approve resolution 6.
Thank you, Mrs. Chan.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mrs. Lamb. With that, if there's no further discussion, roll call. Mrs. Lamb.
Aye.
Mrs. Gill.
Aye.
Mrs. Chan.
Aye.
Mr. Chang. Mr.
Aye.
Ryan's my husband, I guess. Mr. Chang.
Work husband.
Mrs. Ryan, aye. And student board member.
Aye.
Thank you. Board Superintendent discussion, any items? Dr. Delatorre?
None for me.
All right. With that, I would like to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you.